What's going on, everybody? Poppin' here. We're back with season 12 of VBLS. I'm so happy that this league has lasted 12 seasons. I'm so proud of everything we've managed to accomplish. It's the best league around. The only league I've stuck with for all these seasons. So happy to be here and so excited to be part of season 12. So what entails season 12, might you ask? So season 12 is in the Regulation F format of VGC. So what does that mean? That means anything that's in DLC 2 of Scarlet and Violet. So that is all the base Pokemon in the game, everything from DLC 1, everything from DLC 2, plus Walking Wake, Iron Leaves, plus Ursaluna, Tornadus, all those other goobers from Regulation D who aren't really in the game, but essentially are because of the Pokemon Home compatibility. So kind of weird, but yeah, that's the format we're in. This seems like it's going to be the highest power level format in Scarlet and Violet besides anything with restricted Pokemon. So this is about the cream of the crop in terms of power level, and I'm so excited to be in this draft league for this season. Looking forward to it. Was super hyped for this draft. Got knocked out of the conference finals of last season. And ever since then, I've been thinking about my plans for the season, formulating things, hypothesizing, testing. Just kidding, I didn't test anything here. I haven't played a single game on ladder of Regulation F, or E, or D, or C, or B. Or even A. The last time I played ladder was back before Regulation A was even a thing. Actually, it wasn't even called Regulation A back then. It was like Series 1. So anyways, let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about what we did, how things were working, what I was planning, and just the whole everything in summation. Okay, so this season of VBLS, we did 32 coaches all in one draft pool. I was rooting for this super hard. It's a lot of coaches in one draft pool, but I think this is finally the season where that can actually work. And I mean, evidently we finished the draft. It did work. But the Pokedex is now like 700 plus Mons, basically a national dex from like, what, generation 5 or 6? And clearly 32 people can fit in that one draft board. So with 32 coaches, with 11 Mons each, there's going to be 352 picks. Easy math right there. But one thing we did change about the season is that we went to pick the draft slot first. So what that means is we did the randomized list of all the coaches. And then from that randomized list, instead of just starting off where you see there on the left-hand side, Tuxmux got the first pick, Daddy got the second, Jace got the third, blah, blah, blah. What those picks actually meant was Tuxmux got to pick their draft spot first. And then Daddy got to pick their spot, Jace got to pick their spot, and so on and so forth. And what we saw with this was that people really tended to prioritize the wheels of the draft, right? With 32 coaches, it's really hard to plan for what you're going to get next. So if you can pick a wheel spot where you know you're going to get 2 picks back to back, you can easily plan for combos like that. So maybe you want to get a sun combo, maybe you want to get sand, rain, hail, snow, anything like that. Size spam. It's a lot easier to do that when you're at either of the ends of the draft, where you can say, okay, I want Edidi, Iron Crown, back to back, boom, boom, and you know you got those for sure. But most people didn't want to do towards the middle or towards like the donut region of like 9 through 14, 20 through 23, anything like that. But ultimately, when we went ahead and quote unquote randomized the draft list, so full disclosure here, not all the mods were in agreement with doing the pick your draft order thing. Some of us were in favor of just randomizing the draft completely and just skipping this step of randomizing your pick order, then picking your slot in the draft. And I was one of them. I said, okay, I'll go last if we do this thing where we randomize the draft order, because I don't really care where I go. It's as good as random to me. I've been in the middle, I've been in the front, I've been at the end. It doesn't matter to me. I'm fine with anything. And ultimately, I ran a simulation where you have 32 coaches. They're all randomly assigned spots. And all the coaches are randomly assigned a type of draft slot priority, where you want people who want to go first, people who want to go last, people who want to go at the ends, the wheels, or people who want to go in the middle. And if you do that randomly, if you do that with a assumption, which is obviously an assumption that those 4 drafting strategies are equally distributed, 25% of each. If you do that simulation, on average, people are happier picking the draft spot than people are with randomly assigned draft order. So, given that, I said, hey, this is the simulation, this is what it shows, this is what the data shows. If we want to do this, I will happily pick last, but Sam wanted to go last, and he's the commissioner, so I can't say no to that. So, I got slot 31, Sam got slot 32 of the draft pick order, and when it came to me, I kind of, what I ended up seeing was kind of what I had expected, where slots, like the doldrums, right? The donut region, not quite the center, not quite the edge. Those are the least popular spots. And we can see here, obviously all the green in the top couple spots, all the green in the bottom couple spots, and a little bit of green right there in the middle. Those are the spots that people most prioritize. Nobody really wants to be spot 10, 12, or 11, right? So by the time it got to me and Sam, slot pick number 31 and 32, I picked slot 20 just because it was higher than 22, which was what I gave Sam, essentially. So I got stuck in the doldrums of undesirability, slot 20. So once you're in those kind of slots, it's really hard to pick easy pick combos. You're not a wheel, so you can't pick two things that are obviously synergistic that no one else is going to pick. You're not in the middle, so you can't take a bunch of good stuffs. So for reference, let's look at the people who are on the other sides of me. Goose and J-Star. So Goose picked Archaludon Pelipper for their first two picks, which, you know what, that's a decently good combo. Good enough where it got Archaludon banned in singles. So Archaludon, really good rain mon, really good mon in general. Pelipper, the rain setter, and that's basically it. Everything else from there is not anything you would pick for your first two picks. Pelipper plus Floatzel, obviously a really good pick. Pelipper Overquill, pretty good. And for J-Star, there's no easy pick combos like that, right? Ogerpon, Screamtail, Tauros, Iron Moth. I mean, there are a lot of good offensive pieces, and Screamtail's one of the best supporters, but there's nothing super obvious there, right? So that's kind of what we're dealing with in the kind of doldrums where I got located. It's the slot 20, so that's kind of enough background in the draft, right? Let's talk about what I actually went to pick. So starting off, I picked Glimmora. I've had this thing before back in Season 9, where I was the conference champion. I don't want to talk about the finals match. The grand finals was really, really bad. But I picked Glimmora. So this mon is really cool. It's always been a very interesting piece for both singles and doubles since it was introduced in Gen 9. It's a ground, or not ground. Oops. It's a rock poison type, which is a very polarizing type. Offensively, rock is amazing. Poison is pretty bad. Defensively, poison is amazing. Rock is pretty bad. So overall, it tends to be a pretty good type in general. But when I was looking at it, last time I had this in Season 9, that was the Wo-Chien season. I honestly didn't use it that much. I think I brought it to like 3 games. And despite having Wo-Chien plus Glimmora, which is like a classic combo from Regulation C, Moxie boosted, if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. But I really didn't make too much use of Glimmora. That was really the Skeledirge, Grimmsnarl, and Furrygraph season. And since then, Furrygraph's been boosted like a shit ton of points in the tier list because it's proven itself to be one of the best Trick Room setters of all time. And I definitely felt that when I was using it. But the last time I had Glimmora, I really didn't make too much use of it. And every single week I had it, I thought to myself, God damn, I wish this thing had Meteor Beam. But nothing in Scarlet and Violet had Meteor Beam until DLC 2. And hey, guess what? Glimmora, who I think has the highest special attack of all rock types in the game, it finally got Meteor Beam. So, obviously, the big new Glimmora set is Meteor Beam plus Power Herb. That is just an insane amount of damage with its 130 special attack, which is in the 90th percentile of all Pokemon. So I ran some calcs here. I calculated the average defense and special defense stat equivalent of all Pokemon, all fully evolved Pokemon in the format. And on average, with no type modifiers, a +1 Meteor Beam from Glimmora one-shots the given average Pokemon. So you need to be in the upper 50th percentile to live the Meteor Beam, and that's assuming you're not weak to it, right? And Rock is probably one of the best offensive types in the game. So that in itself is a pretty monumental feat for something with base 86 speed, decent defenses and special defenses. It's such a good Pokemon. I think really its full potential has finally been unlocked here. We have the Meteor Beam plus all of its other bullshit that I had before. Mortal Spin to get double poison. Toxic Debris to get double poison on the mons in the back, Spiky Shield, Memento. You can even run Explosion on this thing. Base 55 attack is basically nothing, but Explosion is 250 base power. You tear a normal, and you're off, man. Right? That could pick up some KOs on some pretty weak mons, and with some team support, that can get you off to a really good start in the match. Not to mention, you can run Scarf, Specs, Eject Button. Anything is good on this mon. But really, I think the thing that seals the deal here with Glimmora and making it a good round 1 pick is Meteor Beam plus Power Herb. And I mean, Power Herb's such a unique item where it's not going to, like, nothing else on your team is going to run Power Herb, right? So you slap that on Glimmora, you get the +1, you get the Meteor Beam, you get a kill, and that's, if you get 1 kill with Glimmora plus Toxic Spikes, you're up in the game. That's all you need. So I think Glimmora was a great round 1 pick, and I'm really, really excited to use it this season and click Meteor Beam and watch stuff die in front of me. But what if I told you that Glimmora was not my round 1 pick? What if you took the red pill and accepted that Walking Wake was actually my round 1 pick? So, in reality, I've been lying to you. Glimmora was not my round 1 pick. I picked the Walking Wake for my round 1 pick. Full disclosure, I went on a trip a week or so ago. And the day before I left, I woke up like 6 in the morning. It was my turn to pick. I got pinged in the draft. Slot number 20. I really wanted Gouging Fire, but Tsukaba picked that because obviously Gouging Fire is amazing. Like everybody else in the draft said, damn, I wish I had that. But only Tsukaba got Gouging Fire. And then Tay picked Raging Bolt, which was my secondary pick. So by the time it got to me, basically I said, alright, fuck it. I'll take the third dinosaur. I'll take Walking Wake. But ultimately, I had immediate postpartum regret. I didn't want this fucking dinosaur. I didn't want to pick Ninetales as my Sunsetter. Jace had already picked Torkoal as their first pick. I don't want to take Ninetales, who is a certifiable dog shit mon, just to support Walking Wake as my round 1 pick. So, what did I do? I conspired. Jace and I talked. I was talking to the Olds chat. I said, guys, I picked Walking Wake as my first pick. This was clearly a mistake. What do I do to fix it? But Jace was pretty upset. You have Torkoal round 1. What pairs with Torkoal? Obviously, you want to pick Walking Wake. But since I snagged that by pure sleep-deprived stupor, I was in a pretty good spot to negotiate. So, me and Jace talked. We talked in the group chat. And essentially what we had decided was Jace would trade their next 2 picks, because Jace was pick number 2, so essentially a wheel pick. Jace would trade their next 2 picks for Walking Wake plus my 3rd round pick. Sounded fair to me. So what did I do? I picked Glimmora for pick number 2, essentially my 1st round pick, because I knew I was trading Walking Wake to Jace. And what I traded for was none other than Dondozo and Tatsugiri. 2 mons I've always wanted to try since the beginning of the format. I mean, when I say format, I mean generation. I've never used Dondozo plus Tatsugiri in a game. Period. Ever. Not ladder, not random battles, not draft league, nothing. But I remember it was Steve who made a pretty good point. These 2 are really hard to counter. And in the 32-man draft board, it's going to be really tough to guarantee that you have a good counter to these 2, which is Haze and or Clear Smog. So I was like, that's a pretty good point. And Tatsugiri is a water dragon type, so that's basically Walking Wake. So we agreed to the trade. We decided that it was in the mutual best interest of both of us. So what I did, I picked Walking Wake number 1, Glimmora number 2. Jace picked Dondozo, Tatsugiri 2 and 3, Mimikyu number 3 for me, and then we swapped. I got Dondozo, Tatsugiri. Jace got Walking Wake Mimikyu. Shored up both of our teams. Jace got a very scary Sunroom mode. I got a classic Dondozo Tatsugiri Glimmora mode. We'll see how it goes. I'm happy with this trade. So let's talk about it. Dondozo x Tatsugiri. The collaboration of the century. Dondozo was kind of a cracked mon. I have this in the singles tourney, which
I haven't played a single game for because I've been super fucking busy.
But Dondozo is really good by itself. Then you add Tatsugiri, add a +2 Omni Boost. It's absolutely fucking bonkers. So look at Dondozo's base stats. 70th percentile for attack, 99th percentile for defense, 80th percentile for special defense due to that meaty 150 HP stat, And then for speed, 5th percentile. Super good Trick Room, or you give it +2, and it's faster than most things in the game. And then if you want to talk about Tatsugiri by itself, if I don't want to run Commander, or if I'm out on the field before Dondozo shows up, I'm in the 70th percentile for special attack. Tatsugiri is a dragon type, somehow. So, fire off a Draco Meteor from 120 special attack, you're doing a lot of damage, dude. So Tatsugiri Dondozo, obviously, sushi combo, classic. I have 3 different Tatsugiri forms, red, yellow, and orange. All do different things. They're super powerful together. Dondozo's really great by itself. Tatsugiri, less good by itself, but still a serviceable mon by itself, especially considering that if I don't want to run the 2 of them in tandem, I can run Storm Dragon and Tatsugiri, which really helps out another member of the team that I have later on down the line, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. But between these 2, we have serviceable utility from Tatsugiri, and obviously just either a supreme boosting fit from Dondozo, or just the ultimate endgamer with Yawn, single Dondozo without Tatsugiri kind of thing. And yeah, I think these 2 are going to do super well together. Obviously, they've been very great in not just Draft League past, but ladder historically. It's been a great combo, time-tested, true. And it is in a format with 32 coaches. It's going to be very hard to counter these 2. Considering that you have 9 other mons to prep for, and then we have like the final boss of these 2 together, so you can prep for 9 other things, but then just instantly lose to Dondozo. Considering I did another calc showing against the mon with the average defense with max HP investment, so it's kind of interesting, right? I ran the calcs. The mon that represents the average effective defense given you just invest max in HP is actually a max HP Braviary. If you do that calc and use that as kind of a baseline for the average effective defense and effective special events for the format, that's just happens to be max HP Braviary. So if you run a +2 Adamant Dondozo, +2 Jolly Dondozo, doesn't even need to be Adamant. +2 max invested attack Jolly Dondozo gets a clean Oko on the average physically defensive mon with max HP in the format. With Wave Crash. It's crazy. It does so much damage, and that's not even considering that you can use Order Up to boost your attack even more, or your defense, or your speed, anything like that, or you can even just run Super Stall Dondozo with Yawn, anything like that. It's an incredible mon. I'm so excited to use it, and I think it's going to do really well on the rest of this team, given what else I have. So, what else do I have? Let's talk about it. I picked up my boy Wo-Chien again. One of my favorite mons of Gen 9, and honestly of all time to use in VGC. I had a great time with it in Season 9, and looking at the type chart and what I have on my team, it synergizes super well with Glimmora, which synergizes super well with Dondozo. So the 3 of them plus Tatsugiri is like a match made in heaven. I can bring those forward in most weeks, and it'll be honestly a challenge to break through. So what does Wo-Chien do? I mean, I had a whole season with Wo-Chien. I made it to the grand finals with Wo-Chien. I know what this thing does. It sits on the field, and it just never dies. It has incredible defenses, 90th percentile for both defense and special defense. A decent speed stat, middling offenses, but I mean, it doesn't really need to use them so much. And a decently wide move pool. Honestly, with Leech Seed and Protect, that's all you need Wo-Chien to do. Pollen Puff, Ruination, Knockoff, Snarl, dual screens, that's all just extra benefits that Wo-Chien can provide to you. And I mean, I have an entire video about Wo-Chien and why I think it's the best mon. Tablets of Ruin is, I think, the best Ruin ability, and I still believe that. I would maybe change up my order a little bit. I'd probably say Tablets of Ruin, Sword of Ruin, Vessel of Ruin, Beads of Ruin in that order. But hey, Tablets of Ruin, still number 1, still on top. Wo-Chien is obviously a Terra Sync, but given the rest of my team, I tried to not draft too many things that were Terra Syncs, so if I bring Wo-Chien to a game, I'm usually fine just committing to the Terra on that, and bulking through the rest of the team with Leech Seed, Ruination, blah blah blah. It's a great mon. I honestly think it shines best in draft, especially where you can customize this Terra type to fit the matchup in particular. And I think it'll do very well on this team, just like I did on the last team I had with Wo-Chien. So I love this snail. I'm happy to have it back on the team. Okay, so who do we have after Wo-Chien? Let's think about it. Last season, one of the mons I wanted to pick up more than anything else after Senesha, which was a great mon. I was super happy to have it. It was great. It'll do great in Goose's hands this season. I'm proud of it. I give it my blessing. I give Goose my blessing. Besides Sinistra, one of the mons I wanted more than anything else was Pheasantipity. Unfortunately, I was unable to get Pheasantipity last season. When I tried to pick it round, I think 5, I went, because that was the sync draft, right? So I tried to pick Pheasantipity. I put Tyranitar as my backup, but Boom also put in for Pheasantipity. Neither of us wanted to go any more than its base price. So we each got our backups. The next round, I was not willing to pay 17 for Pheasantipity, and Boom was. So Boom got Pheasantipity last season. It put in a crazy amount of work, especially that first week. If any of you guys remember, Boom's Pheasantipity put in a shit ton of work for like the first 3 weeks. Got a lot of KOs, just did great team support for him. And I was super jealous of it watching all those replays. So this season, I was happy to get Pheasantipity due to just the nature of the draft. It came to me, it hadn't been picked yet, so I knew I had to go for it. And honestly, the discount this season with the tiering philosophy we had, because I guess a bit of background that I maybe should have talked about earlier. In last season, we had tried to discourage top-heavy teams in general by increasing the price of top tier mons like Chien-Pao, Iron Hands, all that kind of stuff. But we didn't really adjust the value of low tier mons. So that led to several teams, mine included, picking like 7 or 8 good mons plus a bunch of absolutely atrocious mons from the bag just to fill out the roster. But I don't really think that was a good way of discouraging top-heavy teams, because if all the decent mons are still like 10 points, then what's the point? I would rather draft Chien-Pao for 25 points than pick 2 mid-tiers like, I don't know, like Slowbro and fucking Golurk, something like that, which would have been 10 points in the past. So our philosophy this season was keep the top tiers super expensive like they should be, because honestly, I remember in the tiering survey, one of the questions was, is Chien-Pao really worth 2 Azelfs? I think the answer is yes. Honestly, it's such a good mon. It enables entire archetypes. It's so strong by itself. But the middle tier mons they just can't compete with it. So what we decided with was to keep the really, really good mons really pricey, and the middle tier mons maybe bump them down a little bit. So the average power level has increased by quite a bit, but the average team structure has widened more so than centralized around the top couple mons. And Pheasantipity was one of the best recipients of this change of tiering philosophy. This thing was, I think, 16 points last season. It went down to 9 this season. And for 9 points, this thing is incredible. Decent attack and special attack, good defense, incredible special defense, and a really good speed tier. Plus, 2 incredible abilities. Technician, obviously great, but Toxic Chain, that is something really spicy. So any kind of spread move Pheasantipity uses is instantly given a chance to have a, like a 36% chance to not paralyze, to badly poison either of the enemies, which is a really good chance considering that you're also doing damage to both Pokemon. So honestly, just bring Scarf Pheasantipity with Dazzling Gleam and you're putting a lot of work. Remember last season Boom had Scarf Pheasantipity with Heat Wave. It did a shit ton of work. Icy Wind did a ton of work there. It just has such a good move pool because it doesn't have like the most optimal stat distribution, but considering its stats are what they are, they're pretty decent. It's pretty fast, pretty bulky, good enough attack stats. It has an incredible move pool that it's allowed to use because it doesn't have the most min-max stats of other mons like Iron Hands, Chien-Pao. It has a super diverse move pool. It can use all sorts of different Terra types and make good use of them. And you know what? Any mon with a chance to just randomly toxic you on a team as kind of bulky and slow paced as mine is, it's going to get a lot of work out of itself. So I'm super, honestly, Pheasantipity might be the mon that I'm most excited to use because I just really wanted it last season. I wasn't able to pick it up, but this time it's all mine. No one else gets it. There's no two conferences bullshit. I am the only Pheasantipity owner in the draft, and I am so happy to have it. And we'll look forward to seeing it in the coming weeks. So another mon that I picked, my 6th mon in the draft. There was actually so here's a little background for you. We were in Japan, right? Me and my wife, my friends. and we were riding the Shinkansen, the bullet train. We were going from Tokyo to Osaka. I happened to use my wife's hotspot, log into Discord just to see what was up on the draft. I saw I got pinged. It was my turn to pick. And Electric Kid messaged me. We were talking, and they go, "Hey, is there any reason you're not picking the obvious pick?" So I go,
What would the obvious pick be, hypothetically?
and they say, "Cresselia." I'm like,
Oh, fuck, that's still on the board? Of course I didn't even
message Electric back. I just picked Cresselia and said, "Oh, thanks." So, yeah, Cresselia is awesome. It's so good on this type of team style I have. Glimmora, Dondozo, Tatsugiri, Wo-Chien, Pheasantipity. Super slow-paced team. And Cresselia is just unbelievably good on that style of team. One of the bulkiest mons in the format. Really good speed tier, too, for how bulky it is. Decent attack stats on both sides. Incredible move pool. Just one of the best support mons of all time. Sorry, I'm cranking up a can of Twisted... what is it? What the fuck is this called? Is it Twisted Tea? What's the brand? Twisted Tea. Sorry. I'm sorry. I've had family over. I was drinking a lot. Cresselia is a incredible one for the type of team that I've been drafting so far. Why do I have Control F open up here? Sorry, friends. But yeah, it has just incredible bulk, even though it got nerfed this generation. But incredible bulk, good speed tier, incredible move pool. And even beyond the stuff that shows up on this little helper I have down here, it has some great other moves. Lunar Dance, Gravity, Ally Switch, Skill Swap, all sorts of crazy stuff that are really good for it. I don't really think it's been shown off to its maximum potential recently, but I think paired with the other ones I have in this team, it'll really put in some work on a slower paced team that has the options that it does in order to pull out the long game. Oops. Lunar Dance by itself is just such an incredible move, healing both teammates, healing status. I mean, when you're facing a team that can deal toxic damage to you with both Pheasantipity and Glimmora, being able to survive is a super important part of getting KOs. Because, I mean, it's not just about stalling your opponent down till they faint from toxic, it's stalling them down until they're in range of a KO from Moonblast, Psychic, Wave Crash, anything like that. It's too important, and I think Cresselia fits a really good niche on this team that I don't think it's really filled in this league so far. So, after Cresselia, I had, to be honest, not so many points left. So at this point, I was looking at the remaining mons on the board and trying to figure out what I could pick from that synergized well with what I have so far. So one of those mons was Camerupt. Camerupt went in a typical kind of oh shit, everybody's picking their fire type round, right? So I think I don't remember what else. Probably shit like Typhlosion. What else went? Maybe other fire starters. Maybe Blaziken. Mid-tier fire types were going. And they were going quick, is what I'm trying to say. And when you're talking about mid-tier fire types, honestly, even low-tier fire types, Camerupt is one of the best mons possible. This thing was on both teams in the last season's grand finals. They were on Dan and Red Jolteon's team. And, I mean, hey, it won the grand finals. That's gotta be something, right? So, Camerupt, what it's here for is just for type chart filling out. A decent slow fire type, a decent slow ground type, and I mean it pairs well with Cresselia for the ground type earthquake stuff with paired next to a levitating psyche type mon. I mean, it's just so perfect, right? Camerupt is a great mixed attacker. It has lots of good spread moves. It has lots of good single target moves. And it's a really good user of Terra, honestly. With the, what's it called, Solid Rock ability, it can Terra into a Grass, Water, Dragon type. Those are just some of the best that I can think of. It becomes a lot bulkier than it seems. Its defenses are pretty low, honestly. They're lower than I thought they were. But if you Terra into a type that's decent defensively and you have that Solid Rock ability, you're going to stick on the field for maybe 2 turns, maybe even 3. And with 100 and 105 attack stats, respectively, that's enough to get some stuff done. Earthquake, Eruption, and Fissure, great moves. On top of all the single target moves, like you got Overheat, you got Stomp, or not Stomp. Well, you do have Stomping Tantrum. You also have Temper Flare, but you also have high horsepower because this thing is basically a horse. It does a lot of damage, and it fills out a niche that I really needed on my team. Because, I mean, every team needs a fire type, right? And Camerupt is a pretty decent value fire type, and I think it's going to get the job done. Especially with Terra. So, after I picked up Camerupt, I was trying to think out, what else do I have on my team that can synergize with what I have so far? And I was thinking, you know, what does Dondozo do well with? It does good with late game support, and for that we have Wo-Chien, Glimmora. What the fuck did I just do? We have Wo-Chien, Glimmora, Cresselia, Pheasantipity. Great. But what else can it synergize with? Something that can take advantage of the boosts. So, a strategy that really never... I don't know if it really saw any competitive success, but it seems pretty good in theory and kind of hard to stop. What if Tatsugiri were to die while it was in Dondozo's mouth? Crazy, right? Unheard of. Nobody has ever tried this before. Definitely no world champions, definitely no regional champions, definitely no YouTubers have ever tried this before. So, Flamigo, with the Co-Star ability, it switches in after Tatsugiri dies in Dondozo's mouth. It picks up all of Dondozo's boosts, and it just runs through the enemy team alongside the big fish. Fighting Flying is a great offensive typing, has a decent enough move pool. I mean, honestly, Fighting Flying, that's really all you need. The attack stat is great, speed stat is decent, defenses are okay enough, especially when they're +2 omni boosted. This thing does a lot of work. This was actually the second one I ever drafted in Gen 9. I thought it was going to be an incredible pick, but unfortunately when I had picked it in Season 8, I paired it with a team that had absolutely like less than 0 synergy for for this thing. I paired it when I had there was 1 week where I actually used it. I used it against Jordan. Had a Terra Psychic Dudunsparce with a Rattled. So I used U-Turn on it with Serena. I switched that in. Got the +2, +1 boost with Flamigo. And I ended up winning that matchup, but it really wasn't Flamigo's fault. But anyways, Flamigo is really good when instead of having a +2/+2, it has a +2/+2/+2/+2. Even better, right? So, Flamigo plus Dondozo Tatsugiri. It's a very niche strategy, but it can work when it works. And I think it's a lot of good. It has a good move pool where I can use it even without that. Scrappy fighting types, always great. We're going to give it a shot again, and I think it'll put in even more work this season than it did in Season 8. Up next, I was kind of dumpster diving at this point. I had just a few points left on 3 picks, so I was thinking about it. And I thought, you know, what goes good with Flamigo? Mons that have Moody. The things that had Moody left were Scovillain, Glalie, and then Snowrunt, and I think like one other thing. So I picked Glalie. 2 points for a Mon with 404 effective base stat total is pretty decent. And it's an ice type. That's pretty cool too. Glalie has a good enough move pool, good ability with Moody, and honestly, essentially, it's just going to be here for cheese if I ever bring it to a week. Ice Charge, Cold Freeze, Dry, those are all good moves, and it has a bunch of other good utility moves here. Oh shit, fuck. Oh my god, I just put my fucking stupid Twisted Tea over the fucking new keyboard I got, god damn it. So, I don't really have much to say about Glalie. You know what's funny? I actually put the normal gem there in the list of like good items. But since then, I have learned that Glalie does not learn Explosion anymore. What the fuck, dude? That was like its big niche with Mega Glalie. Just the Refrigerate Explosion was so good. But I guess, you know what? Scratch out the normal gem. We'll do other stuff with other items. It'll be fine. But the big deal here is Moody. It's such a good ability, especially when you can copy it onto other better mons like Cresselia, or copy those boosts with Flamigo. All sorts of good stuff like that. Moving on to the second to last pick of the draft, I was just trying to fill out my type chart at this point, so I went with good old Galvantula. This is a mon that is not particularly good. It was really bad last season. I don't think anybody picked it up. It was like 3 points out of 25, and it was pretty low this season too. But it got Electroweb back. It got, I think that was about it, right? But anything with Electroweb that always hits is great. Anything with a 97% accurate Thunder is pretty great. Even coming off of 95 special attack, when you get to use a stab 110 power base move, that's pretty good, right? Thunder is awesome off this thing. Gastro Acid, Struggle Bug, these are some of the good moves that Galvantula learns. But really it comes to just being the fastest member of my team, 80th percentile, which kind of shows how slow my team is on average. That my highest mod is the 80th percentile. In the season where I used Tornadus Therian, it got outsped by a lot of mons very, very frequently. So 110 base speed is significantly worse than that. Not just on a absolute scale, but also on a relative scale compared to the format. Galvantula, this is a mon that might show up 1 or 2 weeks out of the season, but I think it'll be good on the team. Electric Bug is a very uniquely good typing. They're very synergistic, the two types of them. And Galvantula has a good enough move pool where I can see it justifying a spot on a couple teams and making a pretty big impact when it does show up. And lastly, the last member of the team, something that I was very highly considering, honestly, from the start. I think Contrary mods are particularly good in DLC 2 when you can use Stellar Terra. For a while, I was honestly considering Superior as my round 1 pick. It was only 11 points, pure grass type, great speed tier, decent defenses, mediocre offenses. But ultimately, when it came to me, I thought there were better things to do with my points. And Superior ended up going completely undrafted, which is kind of a shock to me. And I think it probably is a mistake for it to be undrafted. I think it's a great free agent, and I think by the end of the season, somebody will have picked it up after evaluating its benefits wholly in the context of a full team. But ultimately, I didn't have enough points left for any of the good Contrary mons, right? Enamorous, Superior, maybe one other. But the one that was left was Malamar for 3 points. This is one of my favorite mons of Gen 6. Gen 6 honestly being kind of a sleeper generation for Pokemon design. There's a lot of mons from Gen 6 that I think are super sick. And Malamar is one of them. It has a decent enough stat total for 3 points. 92 attack is like totally okay. 94 effective defense. 94 effective defense is slightly better than average. 97 special defense is like slightly worse than average. Psyche Dark is a pretty bad type, but you know, that's what terrestrialization is for. And when you have a move like Superpower that is 120 base power, boosts, and it's 120 base power plus a free bulk up, that's absolutely crazy. Or you can use Terra Blast, specifically Stellar Terra Blast, which is 120 base power on the first one, plus a free workup boost. That's just, it's so good, dude. Because it's going to be 120 power, the next one's going to be 150 power, and it just spirals out of control from there. Then you have all the other moves that Malamar has. It has the great Dark type and Psychic type support movesets. It has every move it could ever want. It's just such a good mon, and if it was just like slightly bulkier, I think it would be a relevant meta pick. When I say meta, I mean maybe draft league. Maybe not the actual meta, but I think it's a great mon, and I'm super happy to have picked it up. I was honestly super scared and pissed off when I was confused, because when I left my pick and I sent the, if you go on Discord, if you type in Malamar in the gifs, it's a gif of Malamar turning like the girl from like X and Y into a Braixen, and Sam said I wanted Braixen, but then he was like, oh wait, shit, no, I think he went Malamar, and I did mean Malamar. So I was really concerned that I was getting Braixen instead of Malamar. But I got Malamar, and I'm super happy about it. So yeah, that's the mon. That's my full set of 11 mons. And looking at it, what I tried to do here was I tried to visualize all these mons into the kind of different modes that my team has. And I could see there's 5 main modes. Trick Room, Slow Modes, Fast Modes, Stat Fun, and Sushi. So considering all these mons, most of my team fits into multiple of these modes, with only 4 of them really being exclusive to any mode in particular. And based on this kind of Venn diagram, which is honestly really complex, a 5-part Venn diagram is kind of crazy. But I think my team here is super well-rounded. I think it's very bulky, has enough power and utility to get the job done in pretty much any matchup that I'm super excited to using it. I haven't started prepping for my week 1 matchup, but I believe it is against Joey Jokestar, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. I like this team a lot. It's really fun. There's a lot of great pieces on it that I've been excited to use. A lot of returning friends like Wo-Chien, Glimmora, and Flamigo that I'm excited to use again. And it's just, I don't know. I'm super excited to use it. It looks like a really fun team, and I am very happy to see how this season goes. I'm very confident. I think this is going to be a great season, and I'm looking forward to my week 1 through 7 and then possibly playoffs games. It'll be on the channel. So, yeah. Leave a like, leave a comment. Tell me what you think is the best modern team. Tell me what you think I can improve, and I will see you all in the next one. Adios. Love you.